So, welcome back to the Asked, slightly impromptu podcast today, but I think it's going to be really exciting. We're going to get our panellists even more involved than usual, which they are looking slightly perturbed about, but that's fine. I'm Mrs Summers, Deputy Head of English and Drama, and here is my co-host.
I'm Mr Till, Deputy Head of Sixth Form, and listen out. At some point later, there is going to be a clue.
Oh my goodness.
And if you put this clue together with other clues and become a regular listener, you could win a spectacular prize.
If you clue them together, if you will.
If you clue them together, if you will.
I've never managed to solve one of your clues, sir, but I've got hope for me and everybody else that they're going to get house points and so on. Now I want to put it out to our panellists very briefly, just who you are and, what year are you in?
Evan Forrest, Year 10. I'm back again.
I like
Regular panellist.
Scott Warner, also in Year 10. So nice, I had to be on the show twice, as you may say. Glad to be here again.
Thomas, Year 13, and I don't have a catchy phrase to say.
That is acceptable. It is not necessary. And I have left it by no means least to introduce our wonderful guest today, Mrs Drayton-Freier, who is a drama teacher, LSA, and somebody I've been hoping to get on, who I've dragged on today, and she's very excited. We hope to be talking about all things theatre, which Mum's knowledge slightly terrifies me, how much, I've heard Mr Durrington talk of great length, and so I thought we needed to get some of that knowledge on the podcast. So slightly different to normal, we're all going to give a sentence why theatre is of interest or is important to us, but I'm going to put it out to Mum first, if she does not mind.
Yeah, so I think theatre is really important because it's really reflective of the time period in which it's made in. So it tells us a lot about society at the time, and it tells us what the beating heart of that society is caring about at the time. So there's a play by David Hare called Stuff Happens, and that was a verbatim play that came off of a comment that American, I think it's Secretary of State or something, said when after the Iraq war and there was looting, and he just said an offhand comment of stuff happens after war, and so David Hare created
Donald Rumsfeld?
Yeah, I think
of course
so.
It was.
And so he created a whole play kind of linking to that, and I just think it's quite exciting how you can take plays that maybe came from ancient Greece and you can put them in the modern day and they can still reflect that society.
Love it.
I think it's just quite interesting as almost like an escape from, similar to books and creative writing, which is just another reason why I think I enjoy that sort of thing so much. It's almost an escape from the real world, and you get to just imagine something just nice, I guess.
It doesn't always have to be nice. I'm sure we'll come back to that.
For me, I agree, Evan, to extent the escape, but also just the stories and the cathartic experience you can get. I think particularly we're studying Death of a Salesman in English, and oh my goodness, that ending gets me every time. It's fantastic. I think, and then obviously more recently we've got musicals, which I also thoroughly enjoy.
Yes, not to be discounted.
Scott? Yeah, I just think entertainment in general is important. The world would be so incredibly boring if we didn't have things like theatre and music. And so it's good to have things other than the daily grind, you might say.
Daily grind. Are you referring back to coffee, given our last podcast? I like it.
You don't have any daily grind, Scott. You know about the daily grind.
Sir, what's theatre to you?
I think two things. I think theatre, in a way, shouldn't, if you think about the world this way, it shouldn't have survived recording and film and television. But it has, because there's something very powerful about being both physically present and physically present with a group of people who come together and something happens live physically in a space. Because as much as we become part of a digital world, we remain physical and social creatures. And theatre, I think, creates a very powerful moment by being both very physical and very social.
I'm so glad that COVID didn't destroy that. Potentially, you know, for all that time we couldn't see live performances, and all of a sudden everybody's back in the theatre, absolutely excited. And that I completely agree with you, sir. And I just think it's about what it means to be human. Obviously, Shakespeare is a favourite of mine, and I think he really excels in that area. But it's just exploring, you know, you said about that cathartic experience. I'm particularly a fan of the tragic play and that cathartic side, all those emotions, all that tension, and the sense of an ending. So I'm on the same team as Thomas, I think. So now we are going to go out to our traditional questions. Any particular panellists want to jump in with a theatre question for Mom to pitch? First of all, go for it.
Where did your love of theatre originate from?
Origin story.
GCSEs. So we had an amazing drama teacher. He was also my head of year. And just creating together with a group, and it was very much like they were my people, so I was a bit weird at school. So the drama kids were kind of where you could create stories, much like Evan was saying, to create theatre, to create stories. And then I went on to college and I did performing arts there, and we looked at kind of directing and writing and just that whole creation of a narrative, and you make it your own, right? So if you become a character, as much as it's written in a certain way, you embody that character. So you bring yourself to it, and you bring how you think that character would react in that scenario to it. So every time a play is put on, it's new as much as it's the same. And yes, I love it. I just love going to see it. I love seeing all types of theatre. I'll literally go and see anything. I'll go and see Shakespeare, I'll go and see contemporary, I'll see physical. Physical is always an interesting one because sometimes it's not always in English, and sometimes there's a lot more dance than you expect. So it can be hard to follow the narrative. But just creation of stories and the history, and as Sir was saying, that living in the moment. I love going to a place and just kind of turning my brain off and being completely in the moment. And I always enjoy being somebody else. So when acting, like creating somebody else, and also directing, I really enjoy being like, well, I have this vision for it and I'm going to make you do it. So I quite like that
secret
element of
longing
it.
for power we're uncovering here.
But
Mum.
yes, but it's backstage power, isn't it? So you're the power behind the throne.
Fair enough.
So.
I like it. I'd so much to unpack.
Right, I'd like to know anyone in the history of theatre,
Wow. This is
who
big.
would you say has been the most influential
Oh, this is a Mr.
on
Durrett
theatre in
question.
general?
I don't know. It's gonna have to be like the Greek theatre, isn't it? So it's gonna be Sophocles and Euripides and things, just because they've lasted so long, and they talk to us about being human. And I've seen lots of modern adaptations of them. So the National just had the Bacchae on, which was it's a choral piece, and that's basically set these followers of Dionysus. You follow Dionysus. It's basically just about like partying and sex and drugs. But the way that they did it was more about the feminist view of like the followers of Dionysus were often women, and in that society where women weren't very valued, it gives a lot of power to them as women. And in this modern adaptation, they would go and they would disrupt dictatorships, cause massive issues, disrupt the power base, and then trundle on to do it somewhere else. And I just think if you can take something that was written so many years ago and make it relevant to today, I think that's got to be.
Done pretty well.
What's your favourite piece of drama or play to teach, do you think?
Oh, so that's quite that's restrictive.
Well,
because
you can
of
expand it. You can expand it.
Um,
Like, not just to teach, a lot you wish you could teach, even if it's not one you teach. Like, what would be one you'd love to see in the classroom and you think would be great for students to experience?
So I quite like Sam Holcroft. She's done some really interesting plays. I did Cockroach when I was at university. I directed this, and this was based in a future generation. It was about school-age children, but it was set within a war. And so it was just this small group of students and their teacher, and about how slowly the population of the school is going down because they're all going to war. They don't have the lessons as much anymore, so they're like washing uniforms and things like that to try and... But it talks about how you are growing up as a person while also this is going on. And I did it in the round, so it made it really intense, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then I saw another one called Rules for Living at the National, and that was in Traverse, so that's where you've got the audience either side, a bit like a catwalk, and that was like a game show. So it was a normal play, but it had a light kind of display that would come up with kind of patterns of behaviour. So we all have our standard patterns of behaviour. So like when we're nervous, we might say we might say ah, or when we're lying, we might look away, or we might rock. And so it's things like that. So it's like mother cleans when she lies. And so then whenever mum was cleaning, you'd be like, oh,
What's she hiding?
what's she hiding? And it was anything, where you experiment with staging. And I think we're quite limited at the school because we've only got our little room. If we could have further access to staging, I think it would open up the door to a lot more
Cheeky
of what
pitch.
they could do.
Hopefully,
I think so.
Powers
These
that
are
be.
the
Come on,
future
guys.
of our
Come on, guys.
entertainment, as
Let's
Scott
expand.
said.
No, I think that's a very fair point. Related to that, do you have any... Are you a purist when it comes to drama? Do you mind if people mess with classical texts, or are you actually open to seeing anything, new interpretations of Shakespeare?
I'm really
or
open as long as I
Chekhov
kind of
or
know
whatever?
that that's what's happening.
Okay.
I think what's worse is if you think you're going to see something classical and then you're like, what are they doing? I don't understand. So like I've recently gone to see The Tempest and Midsummer Night's Dream at the San Wanamaker, and they're both adaptations, and I knew that when I went in, and I took a friend and I had to go at the end. That's not really what happens. That's not the story. But I think if you're gonna, you have to adapt, right? You have to adapt things, otherwise they die. They're not relevant. So I think you've got to, there's a place for both, I think, to have your purists and to have your, because I was talking to someone at my church, and they were talking about how they go and see Hamlet and they love all these wonderful shows. And I was talking about how we were going to see Lost Atoms by Frantic Assembly.
so good.
And he was like, oh no, I don't really like contemporary theatre. I went to see a Hamlet that they did, and they had like dance in the middle of it, and I was like, oh, we go and see very different things. So I will go and see anything because I think it's all an expression. And you can go and not like something, but that doesn't invalidate what they've done.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's fair answer. So, shall I pitch it out to you, Jeff?
Yeah, I have a question about musicals. Musicals
I like
were mentioned.
musicals.
Are musicals to be considered as a type of theatre? Do those who sometimes talk about theatre as if it's a higher art form than musicals, and musicals are a bit more popular entertainment, is that snobbery?
I
Should
think
we consider
so.
both equally? Can both be art and as worthwhile as each other?
I think someone who can sing, dance, and act all at the same time, as opposed to someone who can just act. I mean, you can't say that that's not a high art form. And I think, I don't know, because musicals have come out of like operettas and like musical stuff, haven't they? So they've come out of like the popular entertainment. And so we can be snobby about it. But actually, you can go and see amazing musicals that have got really in-depth acting as well. And they can be really powerful. So like Les Mis has lived on forever, hasn't it? And that's got
40 years this year, I think.
incredible depth of like storyline and amazing songs. And anyone who went to see when we were at the Bradenham concert, and then Mr. Durrant singing his Bring Them Home, and then that was even out of context, but that's from that musical, and it was very moving. And it's just, I think it's,
And we, of course, did a musical called Shrek. I don't know if anyone remembers.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
Or
Or
really
anyone
good.
was, anyone was involved in Shrek and had
And
to...
like musicals bring people
things.
together in a
Yeah.
completely different way, don't they? Because musicals are completely all age, right? You can take
Yes.
everyone to go and see a musical in such a way, and like they're the ones that you bring you together, right? You watch sort of like children's films, and they've all got songs in, and that's, I remember when Shrek came out on as a film, and we all knew it. Everyone in my year, we were quoting it all the time. We were singing the songs, and it's very collective, I think, in a way that maybe theatre isn't the same.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk. If people are listening to this and they're students and they haven't been to the theatre perhaps that often, what would be some... I know what's on at different theatres changes all the time, but what kinds of things or kinds of shows, maybe musicals that have been running for a long time, might we recommend if students were looking to go out and see things?
go and see My Neighbour Totoro.
Okay.
If you've never been to see the theatre, because it's a children's story, but it's got huge puppets, it's got songs, it's got musical, it's very accessible. I love it so much. But it's not just like there's always something happening, right? So they've got these things called soot sprites, so there's all these like puppets on sort of sticks, and they're all flying around, and the scenery moves all the time, and things are coming out of the floor, and like the Totoro puppet is absolutely gigantic. So something like that is very much like, that is entertaining all the time. It's a bit like if you go and see Frantic Assembly, right? So these guys were saying, I didn't get bored, Mom. So that idea of like, if there's something happening all the time, then it's much like our social media.
And Frantic Assembly, just for listeners, is the name of a theatre company.
Oh, yes, sorry.
And their show was Lost Atoms,
Yeah.
and there was a drama trip to go and see Lost Atoms, wasn't there? But Frantic Assembly do a number of shows, and they'll have different things on.
And so a good way in is probably to go and watch the Disney musicals. So if you grew up and you watch the films, go and see it on stage and see how they've changed it and if they've adapted it
Yeah.
for the stage. But yeah, it's hard to know what to do to go in with plays, because that really depends on what you're into.
Any other recommendations?
I mean, I can say my favourites, and interesting, it probably ties into my like of catharsis and tragedy, but Phantom of the Opera and Hamilton are both.
Good, yeah,
Hamilton.
very good.
How have we not
Hamilton.
mentioned that?
I wouldn't say Hamilton if that's your first musical, because it's
No.
very wordy, but
It is
Oh, so
I think
good, though.
yeah,
hip hop
they're very.
based.
It is, and you can watch it with a Disney subscription.
you
Yes,
can.
brilliant.
Can.
And also another way of getting into theatre, I would say, is now they've released Wicked as a movie. I would feel that's a good way. If you've seen it in the cinema and you decide you want to see it in the theatre and see what they've done differently, and then since that's such a good musical, then you want to see others.
I think I must have watched Hamilton about 1,000 times
You're a big fan.
during lockdown. It was the only thing I was
Yeah.
watching because just nothing else to do.
It is.
That's something like when lockdown was happening, they had like National Theatre at home and things like that, and I would book to watch it with my friends. So we would say that we were on it, and we would WhatsApp each other throughout it to be like, "Oh, what's she wearing? I love that costume. I really want it." And just even over lockdown, I think that brought people together in a way that like, I think was maybe surprising at how much.
It somewhat undercuts my original idea that being physically present is important. But I agree, if the alternative is not
nothing.
seeing it at all,
Yeah.
then the filmed productions worth seeing. And every student at John Hampden can access a whole suite of these through our school subscription to Drama Online.
Absolutely.
And maybe with this recording, we will send out to all form tutors, put in the parent bulletin, the password and username, because there are brilliant productions that you can watch. The Frankenstein that was done by the National Theatre. We
both
do that
versions.
with Year 9, both versions, with different actors. There's a brilliant Treasure Island that's was it Brian E. Lavery adaptation of Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. One Man, Two Governors, which
Yes,
was
with James
the
Corden.
comedy
Yeah.
that gave James Corden's career a bit of a boost about 15 years ago. So many great shows, and we'll put those details out there.
I'm not going to ask you about your views on James Corden, given the reactions of some of our panellists there.
Local celebrity James Corden.
It is a good
He's from High
play. Like I saw it when it was being performed, and it is very. If you can separate yourself from your dislike of him, watch it.
Sorry if you're listening.
because
James Corden.
it was really good. It's very funny, comedic timing.
I know none of my year 12s around here, but I've just discovered actually they're doing, my 12s do Richard II, and Thomas, I definitely encourage you to watch it. That in April, Ajoa Ando, who plays Lady Danbury in Bridgerton, I don't know if anybody gets that reference, she did an all-female Richard II at the Wanamaker that they filmed, and they're doing like a watch-along type thing in April. So also I will include the details to that. I'm going to get all my 12s watching it, but I think the 13s, everybody should be watching it. It's a very kind of challenging interpretation of a Shakespeare text. Okay, have we got time maybe for one more question, and then we might go quick fire? Anything that was,
really fast.
We did briefly touch on this earlier, but I'd like to know what is your view on where theatre is going? What is the
future of theatre? Is it looking good? Are you worried?
No, I'm not. I think people will always go in. Theatre will always survive in one form or another because we've always been telling each other stories. So I think because theatre is used in schools, it's used to go to I think there's lots of theatre companies that go to immigration camps and things like that, refugee camps, and they perform, and it's quite a healing process to talk to each other. I don't think it will. I don't think it'll die out. It might change, but I don't think it will die out. I think, I don't know.
It's nice to have an optimistic. Let's stay optimistic, Mom. There's not a lot to be optimistic about.
Well, I think the
world.
funding issue is going on, but that's been going on for decades. That was going on when I was at university, so I don't know. I think.
No, fair enough.
I think as long as people will go and see it, and as long as people want to tell each other stories, it will.
Brilliant. We promise we will keep going at all times. Okay, so that brings us on beautifully to our quick fire. I can't time it because my watch has conveniently just run out of battery, but approximately 1 minute of quick fire questions for Mom. More general now, doesn't have to be theatre based in any way, but so we can find out a little bit more interesting information about it. Ready, Scott? All right, 3, 2, 1. Question 1.
Favourite band or musical artist?
I'm listening to the 502s a lot at the moment, so they changes, but 502s currently.
Okay, Scott's going to be looking that up, I have no doubt.
Favourite fruit at its best form?
Perfect ripeness.
Oh no, green grapes actually.
Favourite season of the year?
Born in winter.
Controversial.
Favourite city?
I'm not very well travelled, actually. So,
Birmingham.
probably Canterbury.
Canterbury, oh lovely. Favourite book, because I can't help but ask.
Again, it changes. I really like the it's Rivers of London series.
Okay, that's fine. I will allow a series. Excellent.
Dogs or cats?
Oh,
Cats,
is that? But that gets people in trouble, doesn't it? That question. But yeah.
come at me.
It's James Corden will.
Yeah, we've already got him on the.
Currently 2 cats to 0 dogs in the podcast so far.
Oh my goodness.
Dogs are a lot of energy that I can't deal with.
Fair enough. There you go. We have learned a lot about Mom in a short period of time, and I mustn't forget to let Sir to do his clue before I move on.
Now, if you put this clue together with other clues from future episodes, the answer that you need to contact us with is what connects all of the different clues. Today's clue is a word that comes from the theatre, because if you are the lead in Shrek, for example, you give a turn. Okay. You give a turn. You can give your particular... So T-U-R-N, you give a turn. And turn is the first clue. There is a prize. What connects all of the clues? Turn is the first clue.
Wonder what it'll turn out to be.
I wonder.
You're very quick.
Wow, incredible. There's been such wit on the podcast today. Fantastic. It leaves me... Sorry,
That was so sarcastic.
I can't see your face, that's why.
I'm so sorry. I did mean that sincerely, but my thoughts were going to the next thing at the same time because I need to give thank yous to incredible people, especially as we did this in such a tight turnaround. Our fantastic guest, Mrs Drayton-Freier, for her incredible knowledge. And that was only scratching the surface of her theatre knowledge. I didn't even get to ask her what the heck verbatim theatre was, but we'll leave that for off the podcast for another time. But thank you to my wonderful panellists too, as you say, Evan and Scott returning again. Thomas Treves, lovely to have you, and we hope to have you back again soon. And of course, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Till. I've figured out how to get everything back on Apple and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, if you subscribe, it'll come straight into your Apple or your YouTube or whatever the other things are. Spotify, that's the other one. And of course, it will be in the parent bulletin. So millions of opportunities to listen and share with as many people as possible, and perhaps propose some new people for future podcasts as well, some new topics, or propose yourself to come on as a panellist. I put it out to a few people, but we'd love to have more of you, and we hope to do lots more of these as the year goes on. So thank you to everyone. Hope to be with you again very soon. Thank you to the AV team. Oh my gosh, I caught Brendan's face there, and I could see he was thinking, they're not going to thank me. But absolutely, you are wonderful, and thank you for putting up with my general last-minute questions and requests and so on. You are fabulous, and you turned around the last podcast very quickly, so thank you for that. Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely afternoon and take care.
And go to the theatre.